podcast. I'm Eric, and I am having trouble figuring out what I'm passionate about.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan, and I'm passionate despite what everyone thinks.
Hi, I'm Grayson, and I am passionate about nasal rinses because I am sick right now.
I'm Alicia, and I'm passionate about these nuts.
Okay.
These nuts.
Y'all want to around?
Well, that was like 5 minutes ago.
You want to roll for funny?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Mine fell off the table.
Good job. 10.
8.
13.
18. It's a race.
I don't think I've rolled a single good time on this freaking podcast.
You have,
Podcast.
actually.
Like once.
There was two episodes ago, it was an Eric cast, but it was because you rolled a 13 and we all rolled like a 5.
Yeah, well, we also had a podcast. I was listening to the intro. It might have been the one we just posted where we all rolled well. Grayson rolled like a 3.
Yeah.
It was an everybody but Grayson cast.
Yep. Grayson will just go home now. And then I got sick the next week, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously that was...
Predicted it.
So
Damn.
we're talking about what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And this can be anything. This can be people, things, concepts, thoughts.
Dream interpretations. Just kidding.
Who said
If that's what
thoughts?
you're passionate about.
Thoughts?
Crystal live streams on TikTok.
Yes. Crystals in general.
Shout out Highland Crystals. Give us a free bag.
Yeah.
Please.
For real? 2 scoops?
Gosh.
I love you, Kiki and Olga.
Wait, so who rolled highest?
Me.
You did?
Yeah.
So I guess you get to go first.
It's a Grayson cast.
Okay.
All right. You want to go who rolled lowest then?
No, I'll go first. I don't
Okay.
mind.
What
I'll
are you
just-
passionate about?
I'm passionate about a lot of things.
The Sims.
Yeah, that's one. The Sims.
I watched you stream for like 3 hours today.
It was 3.5.
And I was there for all of it.
I know. I appreciate it.
As soon as your notification comes up, I'm like, ooh, Grayson's streaming.
She was my one viewer, except for about 10 minutes, I had a second viewer who
Yeah, the guy who asked you if you were from Georgia, the country.
Yeah, and then he was like upset that I wasn't.
Yeah, he was like, oh.
He was like, oh, ow. I was like, well, you don't have to watch. And then he left.
Yeah, it was weird. Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
So, I'm passionate about a lot of things. I would say like nature-y stuff is probably one of the biggest ones, though, as far as like my whole life I've been passionate about. So like I said, crystals, camping, trees, just like hiking, being outside, animals, nature photography, going on trips to different places of nature. It's a pretty broad concept, but...
Well, let's narrow it down. What specifically, like, do you like adventuring more, or do you like camping more?
It's more like just relaxing in nature and enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I like know a lot about it too. Like that sounds so broad and dumb when I say it like that, but like
It's because you rock.
Roll for funny. How dare you?
That's pretty early in the podcast.
How dare you laugh at that,
funny.
Grayson?
That's funny.
That's a 10.
Funny.
Mildly funny.
mildly funny.
It earned a chuckle.
So, no, but just like my whole life, I was one of those kids that was like required to play outside for a certain amount of time every day. We camped from the time I was like being conceived to like now, like 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know. I've just always been like an outside person. Like you can ask Ryan when we first moved into the apartment, I like found a way to string up my hammock on our patio so I could just lay outside like randomly.
She did.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome, though.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
really
hammocks.
cool.
Recently, like, took it down.
Yeah, because it's too cold out to use it now.
It was
but-
really cute when you'd go lay in the hammock and you have like Freya with you.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, I'd put Freya on her little harness, and like I force him to like take me and the cats out walking on harnesses because he's like does not give a shit about going out there and doing that. But
We took Harley into our front yard last week, and I got some great pictures
saw.
of her.
I was so cute.
She's so pretty.
It would be so much more fun if I had a cat that cared to do it.
Yeah.
Freya is just like, nah.
You can borrow Harley.
Freya wants to go explore one tree outside the house, and that is it. A specific tree, and we'll walk her like halfway across the apartment complex, and she'll just
beeline.
slowly beeline, stopping every like 10 seconds to look to see if there's an eagle coming to get her or something.
Yeah.
And then until she gets to that tree, and then she just wants to sit in front of it and look at it. And she's perfectly content doing that all day. Whereas Cerise runs from me. Like, I have to jog, and she'll dart up trees and attack bugs.
I've been with you and you've walked Cerise before. Yeah. And that was funny. Like,
She's
Cerise,
insane.
can we not attack the wasp?
Yeah, she's fucking wild. I love that cat. I'm pretty passionate about my cats, too.
Valid.
Yeah.
You know, I think something that really goes into that, at least from my perspective, is that you're very passionate about like natural health and stuff.
Yeah.
Like using magnesium and like your diets and stuff. Can you talk about that some?
Yeah, so I've always joked that like my mom is a quote unquote kitchen witch. Mm-hmm. Like, she's always been able to like grow anything that she needed, like in a jar on the kitchen counter if she needed to. Like, which is crazy because I can't grow something from a seed to save my life. Like, I've tried, I just can't. It doesn't work. I follow the rules. I do what I'm supposed to do. Like, for instance, my mom grew like 10 tomato plants this summer or this spring, you know, and she gave me one.
Yeah.
Like the same ones that she had in the same containers. And I took it home and I put it on our patio and I watered it when I was supposed to. And I like listened to all the rules she told me. And mine didn't grow. It just like gave up when it got into my possession.
Damn.
And hers all produced so many tomatoes that she was like having to throw them away.
Greenwich.
And insane. Yeah, like literally it's insane.
That's
and
cool.
so I've always told her like, you are a kitchen witch. Like she's one of those people that, and I'm kind of turning into it without even realizing it. But like you open a cabinet and instead of it being like a full cabinet of dishes, it's like spices and herbs and stuff. And she genuinely uses them all in all her cooking. And like, I haven't seen the woman follow a recipe like ever. So I grew up with that.
Yeah.
Where like just someone that has like intuition with food. And I did a bunch of like reading and research in my like college years. And I continue to do it even now with like what stuff is actually good for you and what stuff just looks like it's good for you. Mm-hmm. Like putting things in green packaging doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I'm drinking Smart Water right now and I'm drinking it because it's the biggest bottle of water I could find and I'm dehydrated, but Smart Water is actually just trash tap water.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Yeah. Like I read into the details of stuff like
It's like
that.
the same thing as Dasani. It's just
And
it's just
city water.
flavored city water, basically.
What is it? We steal your water and sell it back to you.
Oh yeah, the fake Nestle Twitter account posted that with the
They were
whole.
sued over that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They were sued over that because that's a real thing. Like they just literally would steal water from like cities that were like small and under, you know, funded, and like they got sued for it. Anyway,
I'm not surprised, but yeah, it's just like regular water. And if anything, like, also like, okay, do you remember the whole, like, it's not for the same reason that people think either. It's just that it's like, there's spring water.
Yeah.
And then there's regular water, like this.
Purified water.
Yeah, purified water. Purified water is not going to hurt you other than that it's like, it just drains all the minerals out of your body. And you do need some trace minerals to survive and for your body to function properly. And if all you drink is purified water, you are not getting any of them ever.
All I drink is purified water. I think here's my reason why though. Spring water tastes like dirt.
No, spring water,
especially.
I have a new thing I'm passionate about.
Especially once it's room temperature. But purified water still just tastes like water when it's room temperature. It doesn't taste like dirt to me. But also a lot of purified water, I know because they go through the reverse osmosis process and it pulls all the minerals out of the water. They do actually have to go and add stuff back in so it tastes good.
And that's why like Dasani says like sodium and stuff on the back and everyone's like, oh, they put salt
it's gonna
in
drain
it. Like,
No, it's not like that. But yeah, just on a personal preference, literally just because of taste, I prefer purified.
Yeah, I mean, purified tastes fine. It tastes like nothing to me. But I actually like the taste of minerals in water.
Yeah.
Like I like mineral water. I like tonic water. I like plain seltzer, like sparkling waters and spring water that's like naturally occurring carbonated.
Yeah.
I love that shit. I love all of it so much. But
She got me hooked on, we found, I always pronounce it wrong, but I do it on purpose because it's hilarious. Perrier.
oh my
does
God.
a-
Perrier?
Yeah, they do lemon flavored and lime flavored Perrier, and that is the best ever. That is so good. And we would get just regular Perrier actually and squeeze lime juice into it.
Perrier.
So good.
Yeah.
Perrier.
Yeah.
All I can think of is derriere.
But yeah, I'm pretty passionate about water like that. Like I'm pretty serious about it. Like Ryan, I'll go through phases where I'll like drink some tap water every now and then because like also that's not going to kill you. Everyone's like, oh, tap water is going to fucking kill you. Yeah, if you only drink tap water and tons of it constantly, you might be getting a little too much fluoride and shit.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows what else is in it.
I mean, what are you going to do about it?
Oh my God. But I just try to keep a good balance of like water intake is the most important.
You just be like me and drink barbecue water.
So just don't not drink water just because you only have access to tap water or whatever.
Dr. Pepper only.
No. But also, like, I feel like a little bit of a fraud saying that I'm like passionate about like healthy foods and stuff because I'm overweight and I still eat like crap. But I do have a lot of knowledge about what I should be eating. I just don't necessarily follow it.
Well, you're a lot more conscious than a lot of people about what they consume and why they consume it. And you do actually tend to eat better than the majority because you put some effort into it.
On weekdays a lot of the time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's still good though. Because there's other things that go into that, like hormones and other things that go into weight and BMI and all of that. But because I'm overweight, I'm pre-diabetic, but I also have a really healthy heart.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not in the best place physically, but also I'm probably not going to die of heart disease tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, there's a lot of different factors that go into that, and you can actually be very healthy and not be maybe what the BMI recommends for you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not even about that. Like, it's more about I'm passionate about making sure my body has the nutrients it needs to, like, get by and
without like supplement
function properly and and think about functions that people don't consider basically.
Yeah.
So like stuff like eating fruits and vegetables that are in season rather than just buying what you're craving.
Yeah.
There's a reason that like we evolved eating these things and they are in season certain times of the year. They're like, for instance, like seasonal depression happens because you don't get enough vitamin D during the winter and no one thinks let's go outside in the sun or eat foods that are rich in vitamin D more plentifully during the winter time. They just mope in bed because they're cold and the sun's not out and they're not getting vitamin D, and without vitamin D you can't produce happy hormones.
Literally this whole last weekend at work, it was raining all weekend and I felt my brain hurting.
I have been like I haven't been keeping up.
Like Sunday it was sunny outside, but like I was inside a building literally from before sunup and back out after sundown, and I was like, I didn't get to see the sun at all today and I am depressed.
Yeah, and those days like taking a vitamin D supplement can make a huge difference. Or no one wants to hear this part, but going to a tanning bed for like 5 minutes gives you the same amount of vitamin D as going out in the sun for about half an hour. So you don't have to do it to get a tan. You can go in there for like 2 to 3 minutes and it's like you were out for 15 minutes in the sun. You're still getting that vitamin D, and it can be good for acne and stuff. You just don't want to do it to where you burn. That's when you start worrying about skin cancer and stuff. So
yeah, because the scary part of that was you mentioned 5 minutes in there gives you the same amount of vitamin D as like 30 minutes in the sun.
Yeah, and like when I used to go to the tanning bed a lot, like I would get up to where I was in there for 15 full minutes, which is equivalent to like I think 4 hours or something in the sun.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a tanning bed in person.
They're kind of scary. It's like laying in a very brightly lit coffin, but you have to wear like these blinding glasses where
weird,
you can't
like little
see. Yeah, it's really weird, and it's loud. Like it's like a whirring, almost like a medical device or something.
Isn't it just like UV lights? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never laid in a tanning bed. I'm very happy being pale.
I found them actually kind of relaxing because even though it's like a whirring sound, it's like a white noise. And you're only in there for a couple minutes. And, like, it doesn't lock or anything.
Yeah.
So, like, you can push up and it opens. It doesn't close fully. Like, you can stick your arm out the side and everything.
Yeah.
So it's not Final Destination.
No. It is kind of scary because it's, like, an acrylic pane that you lay on.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm a big girl,
Over
so
the
getting
light
on
bulbs,
them,
and
like, creaks. And you're like, ugh. But I think it creaks for everyone because it's acrylic.
Yeah.
You know? But... And then just the thought of, like, cleaning them and everything afterwards. And then the thought that I'm, like, laying in plastic and having it heated into my skin, like, started to freak me out. Because I am someone, like, I'm trying to slowly transition out of so many plastics.
Yeah.
And that's like hard to do. Like we just switched our Tupperware over from plastic to glass. And they still have plastic lids, but you know.
Well, I've been saying for like a long time now, like I really wish they had more like plastic free like grocery stores or like places where you could refill or bring your own containers.
Yeah. Like bulk stores.
Because it literally it costs you nothing to do it. And it costs people nothing to bring their own containers and say, I'm going to bring this container for chicken. This is all the chicken we eat in a week. I'm going to bring this for beef. I'm going to bring this for and green beans or whatever.
Yeah.
And just bean greens and just
bean greens.
Yeah. And just fill up whatever they need. And it just makes more sense because you can do that with so many, like you can do it with dry goods. You can do it with laundry soaps, detergents, things like that. And you can bring containers to redo that kind of thing. And like it costs nobody anything.
Yeah.
To just make it a little bit more convenient. And now, like, some grocery stores, like, have that for, like, nuts and candies and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Ingles.
Like, Ingles has, like, you can make your own peanut butter on the spot kind of thing, which is cool. But I'm like, can we not extend that to, like, pasta and rice and beans and, like, the stuff that people eat regularly?
On a way smaller, like, scale, I can get behind, like, stores like Aldi where you just have to bring your own bags.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Me too. And that, like, if you don't have bags, too, they offer you, like, their cardboard from where they unpacked things. They put it in a pile and then people use it for that. So, like, at the very least, it's probably going into a landfill at the end of the day, but, like, at least we're getting more than one single use out of it.
Cardboard
you know what I mean?
will, like, disintegrate, though, like, way faster than
plastic. Yeah. But also, like, on the whole bulk store thing, we're also, like, obviously not exposing the area that we live in on the podcast, but we're not really in an area, too, where, like, I trust the bulk food section yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people's kids are trained not to stick their hands in it and everything.
I don't think they are in areas where they do have a lot more bulk shopping.
I mean, no, but I feel like particularly the area we live in and the type of parenting and stuff here, like...
we grew up with kids that grew up in this area, so we kind of...
We know.
We have an idea.
Booger Fountain.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I don't like buffets. I'm pretty passionate about that too.
Yeah, my dad always calls the chocolate fountain the Booger Fountain.
It's exactly what it is.
We saw one for sale at a Goodwill a while back, and I was like, "Mom, we should get Dad a Booger Fountain for Christmas."
Oh God!
I love the people who have like those fountains like that, but they'll put random stuff in it, like they'll put ranch in it,
or
something
cheese.
or cheese.
I was about to say, do that for your wedding, but wine.
Ooh.
That'd be cool.
That'd be actually kind of cool. But no, just I'll move on to someone else. But just keep in mind, everyone listening, that like a lot of stuff that you think that you need, like I'm not saying don't take medication that you need. Take medication if you need it. Listen to your doctor. Doctors are educated. They know what they're talking about most of the time. But get second opinions and try altering your diet.
Question everything.
Before you get in way too deep into like... When I went and got diagnosed with depression and an eating disorder, I was told you need to sleep better. And then, should we put you on Xanax or something? And I said, no, what else? And they said, try magnesium. And it changed my life. Like, in a major, huge way. And then I found out, like, my thyroid's not functioning that great. And I found out that I'm not eating almost any foods that have selenium in it, which is the main thing that supports your thyroid. And that 2 Brazil nuts a day has all that a human adult needs. And so I can eat 2 of those a day and support my thyroid.
Not sponsored, but those Calm gummies are phenomenal.
That's what it is. Yeah, the magnesium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the Calm gummies. I like the Ollie.
Ollie.
Really?
Yeah.
Whichever freaking ones they are.
The stress away ones.
The stress gummies, yeah. I actually like those more than the Calm gummies. And also, I laugh at myself because I found out in high school that I was kind of borderline anemic. Like, if I eat red meat the day before, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I found it because I tried to get blood, and they're like, oh, your iron's too low. I was like, wait. But yeah, as an adult, especially, like, we eat a lot of chicken, and that's mostly because of me, and my weird brain is like, chicken is safe. Everything else is bleh. But I always notice the next day if I've eaten red meat the day before, like, I feel better.
More awake and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy, too, is this is something I want to try to get into, is eating beef liver, even though I really don't. I might do the pills, because I don't think I want to eat it.
Yeah, let's do the pills.
But
I don't want to eat beef liver.
Well, there's some recipes you can cook it, or like blending it into like spaghetti sauces and stuff where you wouldn't taste it.
Yeah.
It's just in there.
Don't tell me when you do it.
I know, and you probably
Just
won't even
surprise
know.
and be like, hey, are you feeling better today? You had beef liver last night.
That's what I was gonna say though about like I've always thought that chicken is the safer, healthier food. But the more and more I read and research and everything, like red meat, as long as it's grass fed, like red meat is where it's at for the human body. Like I will never laugh at people like the Liver King dude and as much as they're like eccentric and like the carnivore diet is crazy and I would never do it. Like I'm a fruit and vegetable girl for sure. But I will also never be a vegan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no way.
And just for anyone listening, I don't mean safe as in like pesticides and stuff. I mean safe as in like
a safe food.
We
like
got
an eating disorder.
ADHD. Like
Yeah.
I'm the same way you are with chicken, like, but with ground beef. Like, to me, ground beef is like, or just beef is like the safe meat.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I think chicken, I think, like, oh, you better overcook it until it's like a rock because you're going to get salmonella. Or, like,
But also, like, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to see if y'all felt the same way about this, but that, like, when we were children, and I don't feel like my mom particularly pushed this on me, but I was always, like, made to feel like chicken nuggets were better than a cheeseburger.
really?
Like, healthier. Like, that white meat was just healthier in general.
I do think white meat was pushed as like the healthier, leaner option when we were growing up. I was also a chicken nugget kid.
Yeah.
So like chicken has always been a safe food for me. Like we've actually kind of gotten to the point where we don't eat pork anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just because like I never want pork. I crave chicken.
Yeah. I'm not, like, I can go back and forth on pork. I like bacon a lot, obviously.
Oh, I do like bacon. I mean like pork chops and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to eat pork chops all the time, and I'm actually pretty good at cooking pork chops. I just never want
I'm
them
good
anymore.
at cooking them too, but we have them like maybe once a month. But we eat a steak like once a week, and that's my favorite night of the week.
there's
It's
a pretty
so
high
great.
chance with pork, though, that you're getting, like, pretty
Parasites.
crap quality meat.
Yeah.
There's a reason pork is usually so cheap.
Yep. And then, but also, just making sure that you're eating like salmon once a week and red meat like at least once a week. Just like so good for you.
Yeah.
Just do it. And cruciferous vegetables. Do that if you're depressed and take magnesium and get 8 hours of sleep at night and get out in the sunshine. And I bet you won't need pills.
Yeah, it's actually amazing how much like our habits in life dictate our mental health. And a lot of that, too, is just, like, things that society's kind of pushed on us because, like, and especially our generation as millennials got made fun of as, like, being, like, an indoor generation. And, like, a lot of people in our generation didn't want to go outside anymore. Mm-hmm. But also, like, look at the environment that started to change where our parents started to be that generation that didn't go to college as often. They're working all the time. Kids are being left at home. You're not allowed to open the door for strangers, those kind of things. So, yeah, you do have a generation of kids that's used to being stuck inside.
And a little bit scared and anxious of everything.
Yeah, scared and anxious of everything. They're fending for themselves. They're learning to cook for themselves. And what do you learn to cook at home? F***ing pizza rolls and Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
You know, you're not learning about the nutrition that goes into food like they did back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Like, my mom makes fun of the fact that, like, we don't really have home ec classes anymore. Like, she learned to sew when she was in high school. I'm like, I hand sewed a pillow once in middle school. And now I don't know how to sew. In
my middle school, they made us just tie them together. Like, it was like the tie together pillows. Yeah, you didn't even actually sew with a needle.
Yeah.
All right. Grayson's pretty passionate about making sure she's healthy.
Yep.
What are you passionate about, Alicia?
I am passionate about something maybe a little weird. I'm really passionate about minimalism, which, so when I was in the Army, my dad told me to go watch this documentary. What are y'all doing?
I was trying not to laugh out loud.
I just saw him making weird faces.
I was doing my
but
best
in your
not to,
direction.
like, laugh out loud.
What were you doing?
Because I was like, Alicia, what are you passionate about? And Eric locked eyes with me, and he went... Sorry,
Eric!
I ratted you out. I'm sorry. I didn't want to get in trouble.
For those of you listening,
He went, dude's nuts.
yeah, he pointed at his crotch and mouthed either dis dick or
D's
nuts.
nuts.
I'm not touching your dick at all for like a week.
That's rude.
Insert
Well-
phallic object here. Into the sentence.
It should be one of those crystal towers from Highland Crystal.
They literally will
Big
be
boy.
like,
PP
your
refill.
boyfriend, no, please you. We have this.
Oh, gosh.
All right, I'm hitting the reset button on the PlayStation 1. Alicia, what are you passionate about?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm really passionate about minimalism. Back when I was in the Army, like early 20s, my dad told me to go watch this documentary called Minimalism. And it had these two guys, Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus. And they were just kind of explaining... I hate to say that they started the movement because it's definitely something that people were doing beforehand. They just kind of got big about it because they, like, wrote some books about how it changed their lives and, like, went on tour and, like, talked to people. Like, they have a really, really great TED Talk about it. As much as I hate mentioning TED Talks because it feels really like, listen to TED Talks. But, like, they were just explaining how when you have too many physical objects in your life, it really bogs down your mental health. And that's kind of what it comes down to overall. And I really like actually how it plays into, like, cultural and financial diversity. Because there's a really big, like, minimalism to a lot of people feels like a very rich thing. Rich people get to have clean, bright, white spaces that don't have a lot of things because they're rich. They get to have those things. And you'll actually see a really big trend with people who are not as wealthy that they tend to cling on to anything they can get their hands on because then they have that thing, even if it means nothing to them. It could be a collection of, like, old cups, you know, like they're holding on to china they don't want any. They have mismatched plates. They have every color of craft paint from Walmart because it was cheap, but they have every single color and they can do anything that they want with it, but they don't paint, right? So essentially, their big spiel comes down to keeping and paying attention to things that bring value into your life and how a lot of people focus too much on material possessions. And how I love telling their story because they in particular were both working for a big company, working 6-figure jobs, making salaries, and they were also in, like, 6 figures worth of debt, each of them. And so not the main guy, I guess the guy who did it first and then his friend picked up on it was Joshua Fields Milburn. And he mentioned that his mother passed away, his wife divorced him all in the same year, and he was going to Florida and went to his mother's tiny apartment where she had all this stuff. So, like, a lifetime's worth of stuff before she passed away. And that his initial reaction was to call U-Haul, get a truck. He was going to have to wait another day for the biggest truck that they had and transport all of her stuff with him back to, like, New York where he was living. And he was going to buy a storage unit for all of his mom's stuff. And then it kind of occurred to him how crazy that was. That he was going to
do what with it?
Exactly. It was going to sit in a storage unit. He wasn't going to look at it. He wasn't going to do anything with it. So he got together with, like, some of her friends and ended up selling, giving away, donating most of her stuff. He took pictures of things that brought him strong emotions, pieces of furniture and things that really brought him back really good memories. Kept, like, one of her, like, doilies. Like, kept a couple things that were very, very sentimental to him. And then everything else he let go of. And then went back to his own life and started doing the same thing gradually. And then, so his friend, Ryan Nicodemus, was a childhood friend, worked in the same company, was in very much the same situation. And knowing all the tragedy that he'd gone through, looked at this guy about 6 months later and was like, why the hell are you so happy? And he starts telling him what he's been doing in his life. And Ryan Nicodemus strikes me as a bit more ADHD. So he's like an all or nothing kind of guy. So what he did was what he calls a packing party.
I love this. I was hoping you were going to tell this.
I think I heard about this one.
Yeah, I think it's really cool for those kind of people. But he had all of his friends come over, had like a party, and had all of his friends help him pack up as though he were moving. Put all of the boxes in one room of his house. And over the course of a month, he unpacked everything that he needed. So, you know, he'd pull out clothes for the day. He'd pull out his toothbrush and toothpaste. He'd pull out pairs of shoes that he wanted to wear on a weekend instead of a work day. And then at the end of that month or 2 months or however long it was, he got rid of everything that he didn't pull out. He's like, I don't know what's in those boxes. I don't care about what's in those boxes, or I would have gotten them out.
Yeah.
And he started clean from there. And then both of them talked about how that allowed them to stop focusing on material possessions, and like they got out of their debt and they quit their jobs because it was running their whole lives. And how they were able to free up mental space by getting rid of material objects. Mm-hmm. And talking about how like it's kind of interesting looking at how different people embrace it, because some people you get like the Marie Kondo thing and her organization method.
That's my knowledge of minimalism is Marie Kondo. Yeah.
And it is a version of it. Being able to get rid of things that don't spark joy, they don't bring value to your life, is really important. And way too many people don't necessarily go through and purge things like they should, because it's easier to hold on to stuff, especially when you're not looking at it. Which is where Eric and I got really big into like the tiny house movement a few years ago, and love the idea, because if you have extra rooms in your house, you're more likely to fill them with stuff.
Yeah.
That you don't look at, you don't use, you don't need, you don't even necessarily want, but you have it because you feel obligated to, because there's a room.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even into it at first. So like whenever she took me to our first tiny house festival,
he thought I was crazy.
I was like, there's no way. I was like, we can't do it. I was like, I was always brought up, we always had, like a normal average size house. And I was like, I don't understand how you can live in something like that. And that was until I actually walked into one.
Yeah.
The very first one I walked into, I was like, holy shit. I was like, they have so much space for everything in such a small area.
And because it's so small, like the stuff that you do have can be like more luxurious and nice and worthwhile. Like they always have like really nice kitchens and like really comfortable beds and stuff.
Yeah, and every single one of them is just so amazing and just so creative, because majority of the time these people made it themselves, or they had a shell built for them and then they did everything on the inside.
Yeah. It's just the difference between just kind of living life and not really paying attention versus leading a very intentional life.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of leading a more intentional life and doing things not just for the sake of doing them or because that's what you think you should do. Because, I mean, especially my parents were a really big influence on that. And my dad likes that he's helped me think this way, because when they were growing up, and exactly what they did was they got married young, they bought a big house, they had kids, my dad had nice cars, and then I found out late in high school that we were about to lose everything.
Yeah.
They didn't have the money for it. They never did. We were in debt my entire life. And like it's a very, very privileged life to never realize that.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But it is very scary to look at, and just to realize that if they hadn't bought a $150,000 house and they had bought something smaller that was maybe more adequate for 3 people instead of a house with 4 bedrooms, like we could have probably lived a better life, and they may not have gotten their house foreclosed on, and they may have just been happier and less stressed for all of those years.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing those things on them, because that's just what they thought they were supposed to do. That's how they were raised. You grow up, you get married, you buy a house, you have a car, you go to work. But that recipe doesn't work for everybody, but that's the recipe that's been sold.
That's so funny that you brought that up, actually, because, so first of all, I am more of a maximalist as far as, like, style-wise.
Yeah.
I would call myself a maximalist. I like colorful stuff. I like having things on my shelves and everything. I'm not necessarily like a huge knick-knack person, but like I like having a large amount of books. I like having my crystals out. I like having candles out. Like I like all my hair products and stuff, which I'm trying to get away from for health reasons, not because I want to minimalize my stuff. But like Ryan's mom is like, I know she mentioned getting into like the minimalist thing.
Yeah, more so like as my sister and I grew up and moved out of the house, because like now she is, but like when we were kids, like we didn't have a crazy amount of stuff, but every corner of the house had a purpose.
Yeah. But like even like your sister. So like, for example, I feel like in my house, I have a lot of stuff that I don't use, that just like we have an outside storage closet that I haven't opened in almost a year.
We could probably throw everything away in that. And
well, there's like some camping gear in there that like is only for getting out for camping. But other than that, like I don't know what in there I actually need or use, or what's in there. Yeah. Honestly, like other than Christmas decorations and camping gear, but that's not all that's in there. There's a lot of other stuff in there. And like we're probably going to be downsizing to a really small space for like 6 months. And we both agreed that we're going to like use it as a challenge to practice minimalism. So it's funny you brought that up, because maybe like we can, when we do like a girl or a roll for wifeys episode in the future, we can like talk about how it's going or something, because we just agreed like pick out 7 outfits each.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pick out 4 plates, 4 mugs, you know, like,
Yeah.
so there can be 1 dirty for each of us and 1 clean for each of us at all times. Because, like, we're not going to have a dishwasher for that amount of time. Like, that kind of stuff where it'll be, like, a fun kind of challenge where, like, if it's not our lifestyle, we're planning on buying a house at the end of it. And, you know, having all of our stuff back, but maybe we won't want it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well,
like,
and it's cool to try those kind of things. And it's funny how, like, testing yourself like that really changes your perspective on it.
yeah.
One of the things that one of the guys in the Minimalists do, he wears a uniform. It's not like a uniform. He wears black pants. He wears a black shirt. He wears boots every single day. But yeah, but he like sets himself a uniform because he doesn't want to think about what to wear every day.
Yep.
And I actually toyed with that idea for a little while, and I just realized that I like wearing fun stuff.
Yeah.
But like something like that works for Eric really well.
Yeah.
So like I tell people at work all the time, because I mean this actually I had to throw another shirt away because I just got another one from work. I have 4 work outfits because I only work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Because I work 3 12-hour shifts, so I only need 3 work outfits, and that's all I have. And I don't keep any more than that.
Yeah.
And the pants that I wear for work, I also wear in my daily life.
Yeah.
I just don't wear my polos in my daily life because polos are not comfortable like that to me.
But even in your regular life, like you have a pack of Henleys, and that's pretty much all you
Yeah.
wear.
Honestly, I threw away 2 T-shirts that I had not worn in I don't know how long today. I got to throw away another polo. I'm about to throw away a pair of shoes that I just got. So, like, anytime I get something new, there is something that's going away.
Yeah.
Anytime, because I don't want to expand my closet. Honestly, I already have too much.
Me too, especially. Well, it's cool. And like people have talked about doing that like with their kids and teaching kids especially because they don't understand the concept. They're just like, oh, I want this thing.
Yeah.
And that's all their brain focuses on because they, you know, they don't really understand the give and take yet. But like people have talked about like teaching their kids minimalism by being like, oh, so we have 5 pictures on the fridge that you made and we love all of these and you want to put something else up because you're really proud of it and that's great, but you have to pick one to come down because there's going to be give and take here. We can't put every picture on the
I would
fridge.
100% push that because that was something where even my mom admits like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that to you as a kid where like she would want me to get rid of stuffed animals or something, and I'd pick one that I'd be like, okay, I'm confident, like I can live without this one, and she'd be like, oh, but this one was from your grandma or something, and then I would feel guilty.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get rid of anything, and I feel like it kind of followed me into my adulthood.
Another thing about that is a lot of people are like, you only have 5 pairs of shoes? I'm like, yeah. I was like, every single one of them has a purpose.
That still sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, and 5 pairs includes a pair of army boots that are sentimental and I don't want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because I wore those overseas and I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, I have probably 10 pairs, and that's really little for a girl.
God, I have a lot.
And you've already thrown away a lot.
I know. I have this vicious cycle of, and I don't clothes shop often. You have to admit, I don't buy like mass amounts of clothes, but like once a year. And I got rid of 6 trash bags worth of clothes.
Wow.
Well, like both of ours. But we went through our entire closet. And I feel like no matter how many times a year I do that and pick out the stuff that I genuinely wear, that I still end up having a completely full closet. Same with dishes. Like we went through all of our cups and I made rows and I was like, if they match, I put it in front, you know what I mean? Until the cabinet was full, and we threw away all the rest of our cups.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now my cabinet's already full to the point where I can't fit them in there anymore.
Wow.
Because, like, we're in this weird stage where, like, we just got married and we're young adults and we're, like, you know, we move into an apartment or whatever, and people get us gifts and they just, like, assume we want house stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just I feel like I'm always in an endless cycle of having to get rid of stuff and getting more stuff.
You know what's funny?
And I can't make it stop.
When I got you guys that gift when you came back from your honeymoon, the reason I got you those Q-tips is because it was something that you would use and refill, and because you said you wanted bamboo accents.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I love it. Because, like, yeah, like, I have Q-tips, but they just sit in the box on top of the toilet.
Yeah.
And I really, like, I love the idea of those, like, refill videos, like, restock videos and stuff on TikTok. Like, I want my laundry room to look like that and everything. But, like, the issue is, like, first of all, a lot of that's, like, super wasteful. Because I sit and think about the fact that, like, okay, they're, like, let's say they fill up one of those little dispensers or whatever.
Yeah.
They fill it up and there's still this much left in the container.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can't tell, I'm holding up like a 2-inch, line worth. And do they throw it away or do they store it somewhere in their house?
I actually have one of those.
Yeah, I was waiting.
on mine. So, because we use scent beads and we use regular detergent. So I have like a jar for the scent beads and a scoop. And I have one of the pitchers. And so whenever I'm out of what was in there, I actually pour it into a bowl. I clean it out because the dispenser gets kind of clogged. And then I will refill it with new detergent and I'll put that on top so it gets mixed in so that everything kind of gets recycled and you don't have anything gross potentially sitting in there.
Yeah.
So,
no, I don't mean in the reusable dispenser. I mean in the one that you're filling it up with. So you fill it up to the brim and there's still a little left in the container. Do you just get through the container first and then throw it away?
So if I have extra, I will keep it and store it somewhere. I hate doing that. So I actually usually buy smaller containers than I need. So that I'd rather have something that's a little less filled. Like, I don't know if you've noticed that I keep all my sauces in bottles in the fridge.
Yep.
So I actually, instead of buying like a really big bottle of ranch, usually I'll buy like a little bottle of ranch and I'll refill my container. And then I might have to buy it more frequently, but it's less wasteful because we don't actually use a ton of sauce all the time.
Yeah.
It takes up less space in my fridge. And like we used to have like a drawer that was just overflowing with sauce bottles, and I always had to dig through it to find what I wanted, and I hated it. And now I can see all of my sauces, and they sit in the corner of my fridge, and I can get to everything, and I can see what's in the bottle because it's a clear bottle. And like that's something that works for me.
And
and I feel like we have totally different methods with that because I'm more of like I would rather go spend $30 on a massive thing of laundry detergent and then not think about laundry detergent for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as much as I would love to have a beautiful glass mason jar, little dispenser and everything, but because that's the kind of thing where my minimalism's a little bit different, where it's like the places where I am minimal, it's like a really, really practical.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the thing is minimalism. Everybody thinks minimalism is getting rid of shit. It's not. If you came into my house, you would not think I'm a minimalist. I have a lot of stuff, and I still have a lot of stuff I don't need.
Yeah.
However, I get in these moods when I'm manic. A lot of people buy stuff. I throw away.
Yep.
I love throwing shit away.
Same.
I love donating stuff. I love getting things out of my house.
Yeah.
Like I'm always asking friends, I was like, hey, do you want this? I don't want this anymore. That's usually because I've hit a point where it's sitting around. I don't have a place for it and it's not bringing value to me anymore. When I
could bring value to someone else that you care about. Yeah.
Like the popsicles. I bullied my friends into taking popsicles because they sat in my freezer for a year and I didn't use them and they were taking up a large amount of room. That embroidery came off of that wall, and I asked you if you wanted it because you like plants, and I thought it would look great in your apartment. Maybe you'd like it.
And I get so many compliments on it.
That's funny because for that same reason that's why y'all have a PlayStation 2 now.
Yeah.
That we don't use.
I went manic, and we were cleaning up, and I was like, I don't need 3 PlayStations. I was like, I can give away one of them.
I can tell that Ryan goes swings in and out of a minimalist mindset too, because the other day, don't laugh, we were doing a tarot card reading.
They're so much fun. All right.
It is really fun.
No, it's cool. Actually, I would love if you'd read my tarot.
That would be fun to do on the
Tarot
podcast.
cast.
Yeah, because I'm still learning them.
Yeah.
And oracle stuff in general, I think is really cool. But
that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I have a couple
girl.
decks.
I'd say I have a deck and an oracle deck, and I've never used
Oral deck.
But yeah, and I've never used either of them, so it's probably something I'm going to get rid of eventually because I don't use them.
Well, it'd be fun. We should do that for a podcast coming up soon. We'll do the uwu cast. The woo woo cast.
Woo woo woo.
You're so excited about that tarot deck.
I know, and because I got really into witchy stuff for a while, and so I have books and I have tarot cards and I have incense and I have crystals and I have all this stuff, and I just kind of learned I'm not really that person. I'm I just try to focus on what I'm putting out into the world.
Yeah,
I don't need to put jar. I don't need to burn incense.
No.
I don't need to light a candle.
Nobody
just focus
does.
on me. Yeah, nobody does. For some people, they really feel like that does something for them. That brings value for them, and that's great.
And if that's all it is, if it's a meditative thing, then sure. But
yeah.
You're not putting a spell out in the world for real, so like a Disney witch or something. But
what was your thought?
My thought I was getting at though was that we were doing a tarot card reading, and I told Ryan, like, basically the, like, basis of how tarot works is it's not like a predicting the future. It's supposed to give you some kind of guidance. And they're not meant to be magic or anything. It's meant to be, like, thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Basically, like, hey, if you weren't looking at something this way, here's something to consider. So I just want to, like, that disclosure so that people aren't like, you think you can tell the future or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But he was like, should I downsize my guitar collection?
Yeah. I was like, should I get rid of, like, all but 3 or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, because he has, like, 20. Mm-hmm. Like, probably more than 20.
It's like 16.
Last time I counted it was 19, and then we got more from your parents' house, those acoustics. But he has a lot, and you still have, like, some at other friends' houses and stuff that you're like, I need to go get that guitar back from that guy.
Just
and stuff.
one.
So I'm just saying, you have a lot of guitars, which they're fine. You know, like, we have a space for them and everything, but you don't play them that much. And there's other things that you've started to get passionate about where I've been, like, kind of encouraging him, like, maybe sell a couple of them that you're not as connected to get the 3D printer or things like that. So anyway, I think that's just, like, where the thought process came from. But he asked, like, for guidance on that, basically, when I was doing a little tarot reading. And the card that he pulled, like, I just fanned him out and he pulled one, was literally, it was, like, this whole card about how, like, you need to disconnect yourself from material things. And I thought it was crazy because there's so many cards in the decks, you know? And, like, specifically it being right side up versus upside down and everything, like, was this specific thing. And he was like, well, that's
pretty
great.
clear.
So, yeah. Mine, weirdly, I asked something about changing jobs. Like, was it a good idea? And it specifically said, now's not a great time for that. And I was like, well, too bad, because I already started, so hopefully it'll be okay.
I mean, actually, it kind of makes sense because, like, you're really in this transitional period where, like, you're probably moving.
Yeah.
And you guys are, like, going to be, like, in a different situation for a little while. It's probably going to be a little stressful. And now
and the holidays coming up.
And the holidays.
Stuff, yeah.
And there's going to be a new job. But you know what? You'll make it through it. You're strong.
We'll figure it out.
That's funny.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just advice. It's not saying, like, you're going to, like, have a stress-induced stroke or something if you know, like.
Because saying disconnect yourself from material possessions, let's saying get rid of every single one of your guitars.
Yeah.
But if you're like, yeah, maybe I could get rid of a couple, you know.
Get rid of 2. See how you feel.
Start somewhere. See how you feel. See if it impacts your life. Because like, and the minimalists, as they go through and they, like, talk to fans, and, like, people will be like, I don't understand how you get rid of everything. Like, oh, they specifically mentioned one girl. She's like, I love my books. I don't want to get rid of all my books. I feel like I have to get rid of all my books. And he was like, you know, it sounds like your books, like, bring a lot of value to your life and you read them all the time. Don't get rid of your books.
Yeah.
Get rid of something that you don't care about.
Get rid of that cabinet full of nail polish that you haven't touched in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, something else.
My dad, and I kind of picked this up from him too, like, I used to be somebody who dreamed of having a library in my house. And my dad always had, like, the big plastic shelves, and they were full, front to back, stacked on top of each other, books. He had, like, every R.A. Salvatore book, every Star Wars book, like, so many. He was a personal library. I could go to my dad and be like, I need something to read. He'd give me a book. And I used to want to be like that. And then, like, I watched him make the example. He donated all of his books. He started reading on Kindle. And I mean, this man he usually reads like 100 or more books a year.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently but they're all on Kindle now. He doesn't feel the need to have those physical things in his house. And I did the same thing. I got rid of all my books. I have some witchy books. I got some D&D books. That's it. I don't keep books anymore.
That's so funny because I'm actually building a book collection now. So if you're ever getting rid of any.
Yeah, actually, I could probably go through there and give you every single book I have.
Because that is something that, like, I don't care how minimalist I ever am. When I own a home one day, I am having one full wall somewhere in the house as bookshelves completely full of books.
Yeah.
That was a huge, and even if one day I probably will donate them all. But, like, that was part of my childhood too. And I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
And so being able to, like, walk out into the living room and one whole wall of our living room was just anything I could want to learn was amazing and, like, really, really beneficial to me as a kid. So I want to make sure my kids have that. And I like the aesthetic of it and everything.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm like, I don't really care about the aesthetic anymore. And like, I don't reread books a lot. Yeah. And I hate to have a physical possession that I'm not going to retouch.
I'll take one for the team, minimalist. Send me your books. So, Eric, what about you? What are you passionate about?
See, I was struggling with this the whole time because, like, the minimalism is definitely one of the things, but that's what you talked about, so I'm not going to talk about that again. But I can talk about something that I was passionate about for a really long time that I shared with my father-in-law, which was turned out to be archery. Me and him went to we went to a bow shop one day, as I had been talking about it, and we both bought one at the exact same time. And then literally for the next year and a half, every single weekend, Saturday and Sunday, consistently, we were shooting. And at the time, it was mainly due to the fact that I couldn't go to ranges because it was too expensive. And then it just turned into this whole thing where it was like this weird connection thing I had with her dad, and then us just learning to shoot and just trying these different things and just going out every weekend. And it was a really fun time learning archery and the different things that go into it, and how compound bows are so different than actual recurve bows, and learning to shoot something completely different than I've never shot before. I'd never picked up a bow before I had started doing that, and then started to get into learning to shoot like really long shots and learning spine stiffness and how the fletchings of your arrows actually change how it shoots, and the different draw weights of your bow and what actually works for it, and things like that. It turned out to be what I thought was going to start as a small hobby that I just kind of did and then stopped, like a lot of the ADHD things that I do, ended up turning into this really long thing that I really enjoyed. And I still have the bow that I was using before we stopped. I think I ended up changing shifts.
Yeah, you had to stop because you got moved to weekends.
Yeah.
And my dad works like a regular 9 to 5, so he can't do he can only do weekends.
Yeah, and so I haven't shot in a while, and it's upsetting because I look at my bow every once in a while. I'm like, I really want to go shoot, because it was also something that I felt a lot better doing it. I had a consistent routine every weekend where I was doing this thing, and it was really made me happy.
Yeah.
So like I always had that, not an outlet, but like.
It gave you an activity to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was outside doing something.
And learning something.
Yeah.
And with somebody who's not just me, because a lot of your hobbies are very home-based hobbies. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, you're home with me a lot, and you're not like out with guy friends or anything.
Yeah.
Bring your bow. You said you still have it?
Mm-hmm.
Bring it when we were talking about doing that group camping trip.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because my parents got some, and I've been trying to do it. So maybe you can teach us some stuff.
That'd be cool.
I've shot a bow like twice.
Yeah, I still have my target in the back.
Or when we moved to my parents, there's so much.
Yeah.
My dad he's got targets and stuff like that. There's so much land out there. Yeah. My dad's not a bow guy, but he's a gun guy, but he's got.
You know, if you put a bow in front of him, though, he'd want to learn everything about it, and he'll have one by the next weekend.
$2,500 on
See, that was her dad. So like, we both bought like really crappy bows from the shop that we went to. Honestly, you're smiling because I know you want to explain the thing.
Yeah, because I joked when he was getting into a hobby with my dad. My dad has like a new hobby every year, and I always joke that my dad doesn't really have hobbies. His only hobby is the trade-up game, because he gets into something. He is extremely intelligent, so he will learn every single thing about that hobby, get good at it, buy the most expensive stuff, and then completely lose interest.
We joke about how that's just how men do hobbies.
Yeah.
Particularly dads, because my dad's the same way, his dad's the same way.
Exactly the same.
That makes me feel really good.
They do tons of research, hours on the computer, figuring out exactly what brand of everything and exactly when they can have it here and where in the area they can go do it. And they join some chat group, and then they make friends doing it, and they do it for a couple months, and then they're like, I found a new thing that I'm going to do.
Yeah. And that's how it was for him. So what worked out for me in this whole adventure is that, so like I got a really crappy bow starting out, and I was fine shooting it. I did well with it. It was okay, but it was a really crappy bow. Connor wanted to do it with us. So her dad had already bought 2 other bows very expensive bows at this point. And he was like, do you want to give Connor your old bow and then you can have my old Matthews? And I was like, okay, cool. Because that was a better bow than the one that I had. I was like, all right, cool. So I started using that one. I had to get the cams changed on it because it didn't have a adjustable draw length. It didn't have adjustable draw length, so you had to completely change the cams out on the actual compound bow itself so I could actually shoot the bow. If a lot of people don't know, you can't just grab a bow and start pulling and shooting because the actual draw length of it matters. So, like, I have short arms. I have a 26-inch draw length. Mm-hmm. Her dad is like a 29. If I pull his bow, it's going to be back here behind my ear, and I'm not going to be able to see it. So I started shooting that, and he got, I think, another one and traded one of his in. And then I bought the red bow he had for like $300, and it's like a $900 bow. Wow! I bought it from him for like $300 because he wanted a new one.
I didn't know they even got up that high. That's crazy.
Oh, the bow that I currently have is $1,300.
Oh my god!
Yes, it's like any other sporting equipment.
Yeah,
and the arrows are more expensive. So the arrows are $15 a piece.
Expensive. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the ones that I'm using right now are $15 a piece. So I've Robin Hooded 2 arrows the entire time I've been shooting. I still have them. I love the fact that I did it twice. But you do it and you're like, oh, it's really freaking cool I did that. And you're like, oh, well, now I'm down a arrow. Yeah. Because now I can't use it anymore. I bought a dozen arrows when I was at the shop up with her dad. I shot 2 arrows and Robin Hooded one of them immediately.
I remember when you came home and told me, I was like, that's really cool. Can we please not do that? We're really tight on money right now.
Yeah.
I was
wow, good job. Don't ever do that again.
I was so stressed out when he had that hobby because we were really struggling for a minute financially. And I was like, we can't afford that hobby.
But also, I don't want to stifle your fun.
Yeah, I was like, I want you to have a great time, but please, for the love of God,
be careful. Yeah.
Maybe a dumb question, but what does Robin Hooding mean?
When you shoot an arrow into an arrow.
Okay. It splits it down the middle, yeah.
So it doesn't, so like they call it, it's not actually going to split it. So like, especially with
it's not as
carbon arrows, right? It might with a wooden arrow, but not with carbon arrows.
But yeah.
It's literally just going to go stuck into the back of it.
Yeah.
And it'll break the lock and push it into the actual arrow. I'll show you when we get done with this. But it was a lot of fun. Learning that whole thing, and I still really love it, and I wish that I had the motivation to go do it more. It's just that doing it by myself is just like with anything that I do is not fun by myself. That's why I have problems playing video games, is that I have a lot of issues playing by myself because it's boring. Whenever you have somebody to play with, it's a lot better. But archery is a lot of fun.
I've got no problem playing with myself.
Oh my god, terrible.
It was a very it's calming too, especially like the way or the range that we went to shoot at, because it's in the woods and it has like a really long trail, and so we would literally go out there for 3 to 4 hours and shoot every single weekend.
And you're out walking and stuff, like getting exercise.
It's very
being outside,
meditative.
Yeah, and it's really quiet. You're just out there shooting, and that's it. And it was really fun. And I wish we could go back to doing it more. As I think mentally, I was a lot healthier because of the whole thing. But we haven't.
Yeah, being out in the woods is like so healing. I love it.
Mm-hmm. It was so
fun. I miss
fun.
hiking all the time. We don't have anywhere around here really.
We should all do Providence Canyon together.
Providence Canyon is such a fun hike.
I've never been there, and I want to go so bad.
There's wild boars though, so you have to go during the day.
Oh, whatever.
Because they are mean.
Yeah, they had javelinas when I was in Fort Huachuca. It's fine.
Or we could go do Tallulah Gorge.
What?
Absolutely not. I'm joking.
I don't know what that is.
It's a waterfall that you can hike down to the bottom. Hike is in air quotes. It's stairs. It's like, I think 3,000 stairs.
Oh.
Christ.
And me and like Lauren and some girls went and did it, and we didn't know. We hiked to the bottom, and then walked downstairs.
And then you're like, oh, we have to go back up this now.
Well, yeah, there's a trail that goes back up. It was closed. So we got to the end and realized that we and my 230-pound ass had to turn around and go back up. It was the middle of June. It was like 98 degrees outside. One of the girls with us had asthma. We did it, though. I did that. I bought a sticker that said I did it because I was like, someone needs to know I did that.
Fair enough.
but never again. Maybe when I'm in better shape.
Maybe that's why when we were all drunk in hell and you're like, I'm not fucking climbing this hill.
Yeah, I was like, nope. I did this once. I'm not doing it again.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's Nesta. That's all I can think about.
Yeah. We'll say that one for the book podcast.
Yeah.
This is a character from Akatar.
Oh, I'm excited for the book podcast. I have like a list of obscure weird
that
books
is not even on our schedule
that I
so.
would love
No,
to
that's
tell
something
you all
we'll have
about.
to put on there. But yeah, that's really it for me. Honestly, there's a lot more stuff I could talk about. Like one of the things I was telling her is that like anything technologically efficient, like something on a computer that I can make and do, and it's faster than what I was doing before, gives me such a rush of dopamine that I can't even explain. But I wouldn't know how to properly go into all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
What about you, babes?
Lion?
Oh man, on the spot, lights are on. Hang on a second.
Well, we just talked about how you have 19 guitars or whatever.
It's the kicking the table for me.
So the really quick and easy one I can talk about, because you can't really elaborate on it, is just like passionate about learning new things. I just like to just learn and watch. You've come in the room and watched me like watch YouTube videos or read about something. You're like, why the fuck are you? What are you doing? I'm like, it's fun. Like this is really interesting and really cool.
Yeah.
Passionate about learning stuff. But the real one that I could like deep dive in and that's been the most consistent throughout my entire life, I could say it was music, but it's like specifically like guitar music, like metal specifically. Like I'm with heavy metal bands and singers and guitar players and engineers and venues and stuff like that, the same way people are with like sports and football. Like I can make fun of people all day long for having like a favorite sports team and knowing like what quarterback went to this team and this, that, but I can tell you like what guitar player played on Metallica's album back in 1982 or, you know, stuff like that. And like who guest starred on this album in 1996 on Death's, you know. So yeah, really passionate about metal. It started really when I was a kid growing up, dad playing Black Sabbath and Metallica and Megadeth and mom playing Black Sabbath and stuff like that and like Guns N' Roses and just being a kid and like that's all you're surrounded by, that's all you know. So like born and raised in Georgia, never listened to country as a kid. So like I never understand anyone that listens to country. Anyway,
I listen to country.
yeah.
I was listening to country the other day.
Oh no.
Say I also like country.
I love country music.
But I grew up listening to country though.
Well, I mean, it's funny to hear you bellyache about it because I'm the one in the group who doesn't really like metal like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is fine.
But everyone else does.
For those of you who don't know, the intro and outro song on our podcast, Ryan wrote and recorded and played all the instruments in.
Yeah.
So,
it's
by himself.
so freaking
And it's
awesome.
really awesome, even
Yeah,
though
thank
it's
you.
loud boom boom music. And I
Boom,
don't,
boom,
I don't care for it.
I love it.
Loud angry music. But I am like trying to slowly get into like some countries. Like I am trying to listen to country and like find the ones that I like. But
I've been pushing you towards Southern Gothic, kind of
yeah,
Southern Goth rock, because it's a little more on the metal side of country, which is what I like anyway.
and it goes in and out at times. I still always default back to metal and like specifically getting into like, God, I'm gonna sound like a gatekeeper. I'm not a gatekeeper, but like
That's
I
what
get
a
really,
gatekeeper would say.
I get really passionate about like the subgenres and defining like what each like type of like different metal genre is and like what band does what best and like what band defined and like started this kind of sound and this, that, and the other. And like just it's literally a tree of like it started as heavy metal and just the branches of it just it's so much. What's up? What you got?
Oh, I was going to ask you, so since you're a genius with metal and know all of the
Not a genius.
subgenres and stuff. Yeah, you are.
Geek.
When we were in the car, we were listening to some metal music on the way back from Gatlinburg that I was telling him would be really good to do yoga to. And you listened to like two different albums where I was like, no, both of these would be great. What genre of metal is that?
That was the band called Pallbearer, and the album was Heartless, and it came out in 2017. It actually won Album of the Year, but the genre is...
okay. What is the genre?
Nerd! It's getting very specific. It's very, very specifically, it's called Funeral Doom. But
What?
the branch up from that's called Doom Metal. Doom Metal is really slow, really like... it can be really, really eerie and really wavy and really slow and really atmospheric. That's like the key thing. It's got to be atmospheric.
So that like Don't Stay, Run Away, that one, would that be the same?
That's Mastodon. Like that song, Mastodon's a whole
But that
nother beast.
specific song.
Yeah, that's not doomy.
To me, that like fits into that, and it's something I would do yoga to. Is my thing.
I have a question.
What's
General
that?
music question. What does it mean when people say that like a guitar sounds really crunchy?
So actually, that's part of like the whole passion thing for me too. Is like not only like listening, but like everyone's got different like responses to everything. So you ever like, I know certain smells will make some people like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Essential oils.
Certain tastes will make people, oh my god. Certain ways a guitar sounds makes me like, oh my god, and gives me chill bumps. Crunchy specifically to me, it can be different to everyone else. Crunchy is like literally, oh god, I'm trying to describe it without using another adjective.
Yeah.
Crispy.
Well, I mean, is that? Well, I was always like, I never understood if it was like a very particular sound that you can get
Yeah.
out of the instrument, or if it was just the way it made you feel.
So it's usually it's more of a particular sound than it is a feeling. So
Okay.
it's more. It's the best way I can describe it is like really raspy in your face. Like that's.
Okay, I need you to find me a clip of like a really crunchy guitar because I want to know, I want to
Yeah.
understand because I've heard people say, I was like, what does that mean?
That delves more from like guitar playing perspective. Like a drummer is never going to tell you your guitar sounds crunchy. They're just be like, yeah, that sounds like a heavy.
The only
guitarist.
instrument I've ever played for any amount successfully is the ukulele, and my dad kept stealing it back from me. So
Yeah.
after he gave it to me, mind you.
Brian's so funny because he'll be like recording music and he'll stop and be like, Grayson, listen to how fucking disgusting this is. I think it sounds nice. And he's like, I know, it's fucking gross. Wait, what?
But anyway,
Sorry.
that specific like genre. That's funeral doom and funeral.
Well, I like Funeral Doom then.
So funeral doom takes the atmosphere kind of creepiness of like doom music and adds this layer of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the world is ending.
To me, it doesn't sound like that. To me, it's very like meditative sounding though.
Yeah, it's really in the lyrics and like how it all melds together. Because like music for me responds to me like I respond back to it in like textures, like the way it feels when I listen to it. Not even like it feels like, oh, it makes me feel sad, but it feels like, I don't know. It's the hardest thing to explain ever. Like if a recording sounds a certain way, it's going to make me feel a certain way. Just like the sound of it, not like he used really sad notes on the guitar that makes me feel sad, but no, like it literally, the way they recorded it, where they put the microphone when they recorded the song made me feel like, oh, like that's crunchy. Or that's like, it's really like rubbing this table. It feels a certain way. And like, that's like for some, like rubbing the webs of your fingers is a release for some people. Like especially if you're super ADD or like touching a doorknob 3 or 4 times.
It's like perfume.
Certain songs like make me just like,
Well, it's kind of funny is Eric and I were laughing the other day about a TikTok I saw that was like people who like just listen to music and like are like enjoying it, and then like people who listen to the words of music. And Eric is a person who just listens to music, and I was always a person who listened to the words. And like we were in
That's
chorus
me.
and like I used to be a much better singer, and I'm not as much anymore because I don't practice like I used to. But like I always got really analytical about people's voices, but I can't do that with instruments. Like I was listening to Ariana Grande, and I was thinking earlier when I sing Ariana Grande, I move my mouth differently and I use my throat differently than
That's what she said.
than if I were to sing any other singer.
Yeah.
And like I noticed that like I'll completely change the way I do things to mimic certain singers.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same way with instruments.
Yeah.
But I can't speak instruments.
yeah. And it's so kind of a side note, and you like, I had a knowledge lamp. What?
I didn't know Ivy was in here.
Hey, Ivy.
What?
Yeah. She just came out from underneath the
It's
word.
the void.
Void.
She needs her own intro.
Oh boy.
Welcome.
There she is. Here comes the void.
My knowledge lamp was like it was like a piece of advice that I remember that I always tell people: if you don't like metal, and specifically if you don't like metal because the vocals are really like or whatever, like Cookie Monster sounding vocals.
That's me.
Yeah, like, and this might not work for you, but like the
Yeah.
advice I give anyone if they can't get past that, and that's why they can't. I like the instruments, I don't like the vocals. The vocals in metal are literally just another instrument. It's like not. I hate to say this because it sounds terrible. It's not singing. I mean, some of it is
Yeah.
like some bands actually
Yeah.
sing, But like when you hear that screaming and that grunting, like that's literally just another instrument because like
that's a good way to put it. Actually, I've never really thought about it.
Yeah.
Like
it
that.
adds another layer of it. Like the drums are like a layer of like boulders that you're walking on. It's like part of the earth. The guitars add like the way the sky looks. The vocals add like the trees that you're seeing off in the distance or the creatures that might be in front of you when you're like walking through like this weird forest.
That's a very poetic way to put that.
Yeah.
So it's I love metal so much. And like, and one last thing I'll touch on is like you were asking about that song, that's Mastodon. That's another thing that I'm really passionate about, super passionate about, enough to get tattoos about it.
Yeah.
Is like bands that like grew up and listened to metal and all the same metal everyone listened to in the 80s and 90s. But when they started their bands and started recording, they did it their way. Like entirely, like literally created pretty much their own genre. And no one else has done anything like it or has even gotten close to touching them. So Mastodon, Gojira, System of a Down. Tell me another band that has ever sounded like System of a Down ever.
No, there's a huge difference. I was told by a tattoo artist one time that there's a big difference between a tattooer and a tattoo artist, just like there's the same difference between a musician and like an artist.
Yeah.
Where like you can learn to play an instrument and play cover songs and do them perfectly and hit notes, but it doesn't make you creative or artistic. It means that you're a really good copycat. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily.
Yeah,
but
to me, I'm like, you can be a good singer, but you might not be Idina Menzel.
yeah, and that's what that tattoo artist told me. I was like trying to get an internship. It was when we were dating like a long time ago, and he was like, this is art. You're not just tracing lines. He was like, you could be a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Anyone could be a tattooer if you practice tracing long enough. So it just it reminds me of that. Where like
any band that has done that has like defined what a generation thinks of what metal should sound like. And for my generation, it's Gojira, Mastodon. I'm sure everyone's heard of Lamb of God, System of a Down, those bands. And like in the 90s, it was even the weird bands like Rage Against the Machine, like Slipknot and Korn, when they first started, Korn specifically, they started in like 93.
Yeah.
Nothing had ever sounded like that ever. And when they started, everyone sounded like Korn after that.
yeah.
But for a good reason, because like they had something no one else had, and they were like, everyone's like, holy shit,
I will
gotta
say,
do that.
I'm not a big metal person, but we went and saw Mastodon for his birthday, and that was a really cool show.
Yeah.
And who was the band that played before them?
Opeth.
I liked them a lot too.
That's another thing is like metal shows. Granted,
even if you don't like them, they're so fun.
Yeah, like granted, I haven't been to a country show or like the only other concerts I've ever been to. Laugh at me if you want. Was like when I was a kid, I saw NSYNC because my sister was really into NSYNC.
Yeah,
and I've seen like Charlie Daniels bands, and that's Charlie Daniels band. But that's it. Every other concert's been metal. Every 100% of the time, metal shows are awesome.
I think
I have to agree with you there. I've been to a lot, and they're really fun.
Like they are performances.
Well, I think there's a very, very big difference between the culture built around metal and rock and roll in general versus literally every other genre of music. Because it is kind of like, it is probably cringy as it is, like that is kind of like where the Outsiders and your emo kids and like where they kind of lean. I saw Trace Adkins perform live. I've seen Panic at the Disco. They're great.
Jealous.
Yeah.
Their concerts they don't have that culture.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at not only the bands and how they interact with their crowds, but you're looking at how the crowds interact with each other, and you're looking at mosh pits, and there's a certain etiquette built around that. And that builds this whole weird culture of respect within the metal genre that you don't see in other ones. You don't see moshing at other people's concerts. That's why you have issues like what happened at Travis Scott's concert, because it's people trying to do something that they have not been taught about versus you have these old metalheads teaching these new baby metalheads how to interact with people respectfully and mosh and not beat the shit out of each other and kill people, but still just enjoy something so much and have this outlet.
To the point where you can bloody each other up and they still help each other up.
Yeah.
Like, we're all good.
That's a super good point. And it's like 99% of the time you can go talk to another metalhead and like you're going to be pretty much on par with them. You're going to be 1 for 1 because just like you said, like the old metalheads taught like younger kids like exactly that. Like if you get knocked over in the pit, like if you knock someone over, or you hurt someone, pull them up, make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
Get back to doing what you're doing.
What was that? I saw a TikTok recently, and it was a more Main Street metal side band, and I can't remember who it was. They stopped their whole fucking concert because some guy knocked this girl over, did not help her up, and was being a dick about it. And he's like, get the out of my venue.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're out. Invited the girl on stage. Like,
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's the kind of culture that's built in around metal music that you don't see other places.
I know this was a country artist, but I think Zach Brown did that recently too.
Yeah.
He kicked something. He was like, get this guy the out because he was screaming at his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, I
Like,
know.
we don't do that to women here. You can get out.
Yeah, and I know more and more since the Travis Scott incident,
Yeah.
it's been a lot more prevalent and a lot more artists are more aware of it. But that's something that has always been built in around metal music and moshing and those kind of concerts.
Oh, yeah, it
because
never
there's that
fails.
understanding.
When I go to like I've never been to like a pop concert, but like pop punk concert, emo night, or like we go to Dark Horse in Atlanta sometimes, whatever. There's some blonde sorority girl that's like, you're pushing up into me. If this touches me one more time, where I'm like, you don't belong in a crowd then. Go stand in the back or buy a seat. Like, because I grew up going to the Masquerade for local metal bands and stuff, and like got punched in the face. And if I wanted to go up front, you just shove your way up there. And if you're not strong enough to hold your ground, then you just don't.
And people are usually pretty cool with it. Like they're
for the most part. Like, you might get annoyed after a while if someone's like being ridiculous about it, but like.
But there's like unspoken, like no one has ever said this out loud, but the unspoken rule at a metal show is if you're near the pit and you keep getting pushed or hit by somebody, if you just put your fist out like that, don't do anything, just do that.
Yeah.
That's like unspoken, like don't with me, don't push me. And it works. Like people just stay away from me.
If
like
you feel their fist on your back, then you keep going.
If you're moshing around, you feel someone's elbow hit you and you're like, oh, and someone's doing that. You're like, my bad, dude. And you go to the other side and get away from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand it.
it.
Like, it's just, no one has ever told me that. I just know that's what you got to do.
So how long have you been playing guitar, babe?
What am I now, 30?
Yeah.
I'm
Almost 20 years.
30.
20 years.
Almost
Wow.
20 years.
I'm turning
That's the other
30.
thing super passionate about, and tell me to shut up eventually, whenever, but is playing music. Oh my God. Like, I have not done it nearly enough recently. I don't know why, but playing live, like, there is nothing is ever compared.
Nothing like it.
Nothing. Playing a live metal show, nothing like it. But yeah, like being on stage, like it's not even a control thing. It's not like, I don't feel like, I'm not like Hitler up there where I'm like making legions of people do really bad stuff. But it's like the feeling of being up there and like you are the reason someone's having a good time tonight.
Yeah.
The same reason people have like that weird thing, like where, well, I don't really, my turn on is knowing that you're turned on. It's that same thing. It's like that.
Yeah.
I know you were having a good time, and it's because of what I'm doing.
Our first date ever was his band was playing a show, and he invited me.
Oh, yeah, when you sloppy kissed him.
Oh, yeah. And it was so hot because I was like standing up against the stage on his side, and he'd like, because I'm not just saying this because I'm his wife, but like Ryan is a very talented guitar player, like in a insane
Brian,
way.
stop shaking your head. Shut the up. You don't get an opinion because you're going to self-deprecate.
Like in a way that most people could never hope to learn. Like
Yeah.
very, very talented guitarist or guitar artist.
Well, it's also one of those things. and, like,
Guitartist.
I'm not trying to like guitartist. I'm not trying to talk it down, but it's one of those things too. And like what I try to remind everybody is like, yeah, some people can be inclined to be better at things just naturally. But we got to remember, like, I've also done it for
I'm not
literally
yeah.
almost my whole life.
I'm not insinuating that it's not because you didn't put a lot of work into it. I'm bragging on the fact that you put that much work into it, and that's where you're at now. But it's really hot when some guy invites you to his show and he's up on stage like head banging and being a musical genius, and then like looks down and points at you while he's like screaming into a microphone. I was like, oh God.
That's why you want me to get back playing shows all the time.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's why I want you to get back playing shows all the time.
And then it even like delved out further from there. So like not even just metal, not even just playing shows, but like learning audio engineering so I could record my own band. Because, as a teenager, you're always broke, but you always wanted to be in bands. So you always start a band as a teenager in high school, and you get all your friends together. And it's like, well, we got 5 cool songs, but too bad we can't record them or show them to anybody. And it's like, well, let's figure it out. Like, how do you do it? Because you can't afford to pay anybody. So it's like, all right, well, let's get a cheap little microphone. Let's get a tape recorder. What does it sound like when I put the microphone here? And I'm like, I probably have years, like as much time as you have spent in The Sims, I probably have that in audio engineering. And it's like devolved into like, we were talking about setting up this podcast before, like, we even did, like, episode 0.5. And it was like, well, I know exactly what we need to do. Click, 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 click.
Oh, yeah,
like,
you
boom.
guys should see our setup. It's insane. Like, for just a couple kids that have never done this before, like, it's pretty great. But also, search Unheavened on Spotify. Check out.
UNHEAVENED.
Check out their band.
But yeah, audio, music, heavy metal, anything that goes into my ear holes. I
could put some things in your ear
Yeah.
holes. Get you passionate about some other stuff.
Passionate about food,
That's cool.
too. I'm surprised no one has talked about food.
I
We
did.
did,
That was
yeah.
what, like, cooking. I think that I've pretty much at least 6 days a week since we've been together cooked dinner, every night. So getting into that cooking from scratch thing.
So if anyone ever needs to know anything about metal,
We will ask Ryan.
That's funny. It makes me
What
really
type of metal is-
reminiscent.
Good.
What type of metal is most conductive?
copper. Actually,
Shut
Thank
the
you.
up.
it's actually gold, I think.
Yeah, it's just cheaper to use copper.
Yeah, it's cheaper
now?
to use copper, yeah.
I know. That makes me really reminiscent for like high school and chorus and like musical theater and like I miss those days. I was like, I used to be so good.
Yeah. I always
miss
had
that.
dreams of like learning how to play guitar and singing or piano and singing.
Yeah.
Because I was in choir all through high school with Alicia and like chorus concerts and
I hated chorus concerts. So
I
much.
loved them so much.
I
And,
hated
like,
them because like this wasn't what I wanted to sing.
No, but so like my like shining moment in chorus. Well, first of all, was the very first time we ever went to District Honor Choir. The very first time I walked in a room.
Remember that?
And because most of the time in high school in chorus class,
It's a bunch of bitches who don't want to be there.
they want an easy A. They're
Yeah.
gonna stand there and lip sync all day.
Especially the boys. Oh my god.
Yeah. But there's like the 6 of us in there that are extremely passionate about singing and really enjoyed it and like learned how to
It was
sight
literally
read.
our group of friends.
Yeah, like all the Sopranos.
Yeah.
And they would let you go to District Honor Choir where like everyone in the district that had those 6 kids in their class all got to go. So you walk into a room with 100 kids that are all just as passionate about music, sight read, practiced for weeks, got there, and they'd be like, all right, everybody hit this note on this side of the room and this note on this side. And we'd all immediately harmonize. And the feeling that, like, I thought I was going to throw up from the chill bumps. Like, it was an out-of-body experience to, like, be in a room with that many people that actually knew how to read music,
Yeah,
gave a shit, and
being
tried.
in a room of people who gave a shit,
Yeah.
put in their effort, wanted to do it, and had the same amount of passion about it. And I like actually still get sad about it sometimes, thinking like
Yeah.
I'm not as good as I used to be because I don't practice anymore. And every once in a
Yeah.
while, I like go through and do warm ups because like I miss it. I miss being good at something. I miss that feeling of singing a song and hearing my voice hit notes and going, God damn, that f***ing sounds good.
Especially after trying it 8 times and your
Yeah.
voice breaking, and then it finally, like, you hear it
Like I remember
line up, and you're like, oh,
Like I
yeah.
remember, like I love Idina Menzel ever since I heard the Wicked album in like middle school. Like have been obsessed with her. So like when she was Elsa in Frozen, obsessed because she's just incredibly talented. And then when Frozen 2 came out, and Show Yourself, of course, is like the best song.
It's so hard to hit all the notes.
I sang that song so many fucking times. I trained my range to be Idina Menzel's
Yeah.
range, and it sounded really fucking good. And now I can't do it anymore, but I was there and I remember that feeling. And yeah, it's that feeling of hitting a note and hearing the harmonies and feeling the chill bumps and like knowing that
Yeah.
you're good at something and that you care about it.
That was part of the reason I stayed in school, was because
Yeah.
every year I got to go to District Honor. I guarantee it. I went every year because no one else really wanted to.
Yeah.
And I always got, and it got to the point where like all the other kids from other schools, I like got to know them. Like I made friends at different schools that I would have had no other way of knowing. Like it was pretty neat. And I miss it. But I forget what point I was getting at with music and District Honor Choir. And
Well, you were
everything.
talking about specifically like when you got together with that group of people that knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was going to say that's what it was, is that shining moment in high school, though, was, and Alicia was part of the group. They picked like, what, 6 or 8 of us and had us write our own version.
Are you going to talk about Blackbird?
Yeah.
It was 4 of us.
Was it 4 of us?
It was a 4-person harmony
you, Tori,
of
and
Blackbird.
Kaylin.
Remind me after
Yes.
this podcast, I have about Blackbird. I have a video to show you guys.
I still sing that song from time to time, and I think about that.
I wish I could find it on YouTube or something because we did so good. Like, 2 of us sang a lower octave and 2 of us sang a higher one.
Yeah, because we were the sopranos. I think Kaylin and the other girl sang the
alto part. Yeah, and we just slowed it way down, like almost like barbershop quartet style, you know.
I'm sorry. In my head, I was thinking the altoid part.
No, but she let us like our teacher just like basically just gave us a moment because she knew we were more serious about it. Like she just pulled us aside and was like, y'all are gonna do something different at the concert. And we like practiced in a broom closet while the rest of the class learned the rest of the songs because we knew them. Like we actually cared and practiced.
That was the best year of chorus.
It was so fun.
Like it was just, I remember
that was Miss Lewis, right?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to be in chorus, and they never put me in it literally until I got to high school. So like I was way behind everybody else. I didn't know how to read music or anything when I started, and like still don't really know how to read music. I can just kind of look at it and like I'm like if I hear this, I'll know exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, it was very affirming for me as somebody who always like cared about it and never fucking got the opportunity. Like that for me too. I was like, this is fucking it. I remember we did. I think it was the same year, and it was like we did like the Broadway hit show. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went to Cherryberry, a froyo place afterwards, and somebody else's who was in our class, it was a younger kid. He and his dad came in as well, and his dad came up to me and told me that he liked when I did Seasons of Love.
Aww.
And that it was kind of a highlight because he could tell some people just didn't give a shit. And I was like, thank you.
Side thought, speaking of Cherryberry, it has not changed a single bit since
it's
we were
weird.
kids.
I'm not surprised.
Spot, like, everything, like, couch for couch, chair for chair, like, the little red spoons, it's all exactly the same.
And it seems like they should change some of it, because some of it's kind of gross now.
But
I mean, it's been there for, like...
a long time.
20 years, probably.
It was like middle school.
It is not 20 years. I'm only 27.
Well, you got to think, like, I'm...
Yeah, no, they put it in when we were, like...
It was probably middle school.
I was, like, 11.
I was middle school or so when they put it in, so...
I was, like, 11 years old. I think I was in 6th grade when they put it in, because everyone was talking about how it would make a good place to, like,
and how much
go on a date
and
stuff. Like, 3 years.
Okay, it's 15 years. Yeah. It's been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably about that.
I'll take 15. 20 hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Y'all know better than I would, because y'all actually lived here, but I lived the next town over, so...
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think that's it, y'all.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Guys, I'm pretty passionate about closing out this podcast.
Yeah? Why don't you close it out then, Ryan?
Well, thanks everyone for joining. Please leave a comment about what you're passionate about. We'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to comment and talk with you guys about it. I'm Ryan, Unryaned on everything, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and like Grayson said, go check out Unheavened.
I'm Grayson. Check me out at twitch.tv/glumgoggles with a Z.
Alicia, I'm hey_foxy_lady. I'm pretty much every social media. Check out my TikTok, please, and my Etsy shop.
What's up? I don't use social media.
That's Edwin.
I do use social media. I just don't post, so it's not worth giving my socials out, even though I probably should to promote the podcast
I'm going to start forcing you to do TikToks.
I admittedly need to post about our podcast.
I know I'm bad
more.
about... I don't use social media as much as I should.
Yeah.
I stream and then I sleep.
I lurk is all I do.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Big lurker.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.